Hello and welcome along to the West Yorkshire Football Show. We're here to review Leeds United 0, Brentford 0 with myself, Stephen Brown, and joining me to discuss it all is Jason Booker. Welcome along, everyone. Get your comments in, get your likes on the video, get subscribed to the channel and all that good stuff. Another classic of the genre there from Leeds United. Attritional, is that the word? Attritional 0-0 game. Huffed and puffed, certainly the second half, but Jay, such a distinct lack of quality kind of all the way through that game. Another game with no goals for Leeds, but a point on the board. We're up to 33 points now. We could very well draw ourselves to safety at this point. It seems feasible at the moment, the way things are going. Like I say, not a classic tonight by any means, Jay, but another point on the board. But I thought the first half was kind of punishing to watch. I thought the second half was better because I felt like we were trying to go at them. Just one of them. But look, point in the bag. I thought when they got the free kick at the end, Jay, I thought, I 100% thought this is going in, because it would just be absolutely typical of kind of where we're at the moment and how things are going against us. But alas, we managed to get out with a point. But what are your feelings a few minutes on from full time with that one?
Yeah, it certainly wasn't a classic, was it? It were a bit of a hard watch. I'm going to kind of caveat this right all off from the start point. I do think there's still some positives.
Yeah,
within what we're seeing tonight. It's going to be hard for some that just want to jump all over the negative bandwagon to see that Brentford are a good side. They've put a lot of sides to the sword this season, and we've limited them to nothing. Nothing. Caldalo's not had a save to make. Now, we are not very good going the other way, creativity-wise. We've said this. We had a big problem with it early on in the season. We then managed to find enough goals to kind of pick us points up, and it's kind of gone a little bit backwards. But that's got a lot to do with the fact that opposition are setting up differently to deal with us. We have, the fan base have been screaming for two up front as if it was just going to be the automatic answer to then scoring more goals. We've never looked less creative than we did in that first half with the two of them up there. Some of that will be instructional, I'm sure. Some of that is because it's not going to work. You can't get play. If you had three Anton Stacks in behind the two, you could get players in and around them, but you can't. There's no way of getting the ball into them dangerous areas. We haven't got. In that first half, the good moments that the game did have all came from their intricate, tricky players that have that little bit of quality. You know what I mean? King Lewis Potter, Yarmachuk in the midfield, like they have more quality, so they're going to create more chances, more openings. But yet we defended them extremely well. So I don't have a problem, and will continue to say that I don't have a problem with this team being built off being resolute and defensively good, because it makes sense. Our best players are in that half of the pitch. As best players are not in the other half of the pitch. When Okafor starts games, I can understand maybe going for it a little bit more. But without him, we don't have enough to really create much. We're looking for Anton Stack to literally do everything. Anything of any quality is coming through Anton Stack. He's literally everywhere, and he's box to box. He's doing the defensive. He's doing the attacking. He's the only, you said it in the WhatsApp, he's the only player that actually puts a foot on the ball and actually starts to think about what he's doing.
Yeah. You can see it, can't you? You can see the wheels turn. When he gets the ball under pressure, he can nip it round a player, steal it off a player, and it's like good decisions being made most of the time. Whereas the other players, it's like so inconsistent. I mean, Bogle was a classic tonight where it's one good thing, one awful thing, one good thing, one awful thing all night. And that was
like that.
Yeah, that
was all like that. Brendan is very much like that. I'd say Ampadu were a bit like that tonight as well. I thought Pascal had an awful game. I thought Yaka were pretty decent overall. I thought everything that he had to do, he dealt with very well. We massively missed Gabby on one side. You know, again, I know that changing our fortunes kind of came with a change in formation, but this was my biggest reservation with regards to going to the 3-5-2, because it leaves us with such little to go at going forward. And you ain't got Gabby on the left side, you are so stuck. You know, you're asking a striker that can't play left wing to gravitate towards the left wing to give us opportunities. Jayden Bogle's going from right back to centre forward. Yeah. You know, and we are having to hustle and bustle as much as we can to try and make opportunities and moments. But you're looking at the team and there is no creativity there. There's no spark. So you have to just be accepting and happy to a point that we are grinding things out.
100%. Yeah, that's what it is, a grind, definitely. Let's get to some comments, because I know, Jay, you wanted to pick out a couple here. Gav, Farker failings are back. That was a must-win game for me. Man United away next. I fear them all in there, and our goal difference going also. 10 draws in 18 games and only 4 wins. Not good enough. Your reply to that, Jay?
I mean, if it's 10 draws and 4 wins in 18 games, is that right?
That's quite a few points in it.
That's really good. If that's the case, bring
it on.
You need to go back and check yourself. Gav, I love you, man, and we are so appreciative of you being here. But this is typical of a certain section of the fan base that can't wait to jump all over the manager when we draw at home to European chasing Brentford with a team that's just not as good, and yet we've barely given up an opportunity to the opposition. I get that it's a bit stinky. I get that we all want to be entertained, but I'm telling you, if this team tried to entertain, we would be in the bottom 3 right now, probably dead and buried, in my opinion. I think we'd be down with Burnley and Wolves already, because this team isn't built for that. It's just not built for it. Now look, we've got winnable games to come, and we've got games in which we can still hope to pick up points in. If we don't pick up the points necessary to stay up during them games, then we deserve to go down. That's fair enough. But we're giving ourselves the best opportunity that we possibly can. With 7 games to go, we still find ourselves with a comfortable gap and 3 teams below us. Now, obviously, that can change, but not all of them are going to keep on picking up points all the time. I keep saying this, and people keep telling me I'm wrong, and the gap isn't reducing. Because we're all going to keep on dropping points, because we're all not very good. And unfortunately for us, we're the team with the least quality out of all 4 of us. Fact. It's a fact. We're having to hustle and bustle it and tactically get it over the line. Like, you guys that want to criticise Daniel Farker, he's the reason that we're still in it. In my opinion, I said this all season. You can go back and check it, because to see that I'm not changing my mind. Like, when we were going through the run, when we were in the bad form, I've said it exactly the same all season. So if that stat is right, that I'm just kind of quickly working that out, that'd be 22 points in 18 games. That's really, really, really good.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's your expectations that are
some other comments. Skip, lethargic with little creativity. I remember fans saying they expect 6 or 7 points from Sunderland, Palace, Brentford. 1 point, not good. LUFC 11, we are allergic to scoring. Skip says, do we think the pressure of a relegation battle is now beginning to take its toll on the players? Now, it's interesting, because pressure does funny things. And I remember when we went, I think, a couple of goals up against Forest, suddenly these kind of, average players were knocking the ball around really nicely. And I guess what, differentiates the top players, Anton Stack can do it under pressure in a 0-0. Other players need to have that comfort blanket, maybe be in a more relaxed state, a couple goals to the good for it to all kind of click in. So, listen, it's going to get ramped up. And the thing is, the pressure is going to, that's not going anywhere. There's still, whilst we're still in it, that pressure is only going to ramp up now. Is that beginning to take its toll? I don't know. I mean, what do you make on that?
I don't think so, if I'm honest. I don't see that. I see very similar performances to what I've seen for a lot of the season. that game tonight looked very much like Everton at home and Fulham at home, where we both won the games 1-0.
Yeah.
You know, we take Pascal Stoichkov with 10 or 15 minutes to go today. We bring on Dan James. We go and try and win the game.
Yeah.
It makes sense to take better teams than us deep into a game and then try and win it at home in the fashion in which we did. Bear in mind that's worked twice against teams that are far better than us. Everton have beaten Chelsea 3-0 at home today. And I didn't realise this until I were looking at Brentford's away form. Everton have got the 4th best away form in the whole table. Now, I know that was the opening game of the season, but the point still stands in that when you've got a lower quality of team, you've got to stick in the games.
Yeah.
You know, so the way that we went about it, again, even when we attack, bear in mind, right, in that last 10 minutes, Brownie, I'm sorry, I'm reframing myself constantly. In that last 10, 15 minutes, is anybody here sat saying that our manager's not going to win the game? He's got Noah Okafor on the pitch. He's got Dominic Calvert-Lewin on the pitch. He's got Dan James on the pitch. He's got Joe Rodon basically playing as right wing. He's got Jayden Bogle right up there as well. James Justin's basically playing as an inverted centre midfielder. Tanaka's come on, who everybody seems to think is a hero all the time. What more can he do? He's thrown. But what you're seeing is the individual quality of these players hamstring us. They're not capable because they're technically not very good. So they're not creating very many chances because we're against a Brentford team that are very defensively good. They're very organised.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And, you know, I've said it till I'm blue in the face. Manager asked for more attacking quality and didn't get what he wanted. And that's, you know, that's it.
Well, if I'm wrong, if I'm wrong, right, if anybody wants to come on and contradict what I'm saying, but with actual backing other than Farkas just getting it wrong, like give us something that would actually land us to say that he could have done this and it would have been better.
Yeah,
I don't see it. I don't see it at all. No. You know, there has to be some accountability, not even on the players, because it's not their fault either. They're just not any better than 15th in the league.
Yeah. Some more comments then. Too passive a game plan. We're going to draw away into the Championship. LUFC, I've got a horrible feeling about the Wolves and Burnley games. Gav, under the lights is no longer a factor either.
Again, we're in the Premier League. You know, most of that statistic were in the Championship. It's a statistic or a fact that the fans want to hold on to as it kind of is like this kind of like, you know, big statement thing that we've got. Like we're playing Premier League teams and we've still only lost twice.
Yeah.
You know, the Sunderland loss hurts me more than anyone because I think they are terrible.
Yeah. But and there's probably I think as well, sorry to cut you off, I think if there's any kind of accusations about not going for it enough, you would label probably that more at the Sunderland game where we had a 6-point comfort blanket where you probably could have gone, you know what, actually, let's throw an extra attack up. Let's try and go for it whilst we've got a bigger safety net to the other teams. But like we argued before, what we've done against Fulham worked really well, staying in the game.
We should have won that game, Brownie.
Well, yeah, we should.
Should have been in Sunderland. It came up in commentary tonight, and they said the same thing. You know, Pascal Stoichkov should have a penalty. We have a goal ruled out for offside. We conceded the most ridiculously stupid penalty ever. It was a penalty, but he's still stupid. And we conceded to the only shot that we have on target.
Yeah.
Like, you have to provide context.
Yeah. Absolutely. Skip, what do you think the lack of goals is down to? Lack of chances created or lack of taking chances available? I mean, we've kind of mentioned there about the quality stuff, but the thing is, for me, it's a combination as well, isn't it? I mean, we've had some last week we had a penalty, for God's sake. Do you know what I mean? And you know, we've had those opportunities, and you know, Calvert-Lewin against Man City had a great chance and whatnot, but yeah, it's difficult when you've got that level of quality. We don't have magic moments in us. I mean, every time we shoot outside the box, Pat, if it isn't Stack, I'm like, oh, why have you bothered?
I mean, Brendan had one tonight, and I was just like,
it just dribbles past the post. You just think it's just no point.
I agree with you completely. I mean, for me, it's all down to creativity, really. Yeah. I think as the season's gone on, teams have realised that we've not got much creativity, and out of possession, they just drop into a low block, which then basically says, come and break us down. And we haven't got the players to break people down. It's as simple as that.
I think that is, I think that's a really salient point. I mean, you saw it tonight. I mean, Dan James had loads of the ball when he came on, but it was like they were comfortable. They were very, very comfortable defending that.
It's not like the good old championship days where that would normally get us a goal. Do you know what I mean? That would normally, something would happen, we'd get a goal. But
the biggest negative I'm seeing at the minute, if I'm like kind of trying to pick holes in things that we should be really better at, is set pieces. We've got Jakobio, we've got Pascal Schroeder, who's great in the head. We've got Joe Rodon, who's contributed some this season as well. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Anton Stack on delivery. We're not making anywhere near enough of set pieces, and we were earlier on in the season. The game at home of Crystal Palace, we scored 4.
Yeah,
we scored from 4 set pieces. I would much rather kind of highlight that as a negative, because I think that is something that can be coached, and also then the players can take real proper accountability for. You can't just expect Dan James or whoever to be better footballers than these Premier League footballers that they're coming up against, because that's not how it works. But you can expect to see more chances from things like set pieces, and and I know we don't want to just be set piece FC and all the rest of it. I get it, but we've seen how important they are this season, and in these tight games like today, we're just not making anywhere near enough of them, mate.
No, it's kind of bizarre. I thought even Ampadu's, a few of his throw-ins were a bit shorter as well. There were a few of them.
There were a lot.
Reached to the target either, but that set piece threat is. I can't remember even the last time we had a real good chance from one either. To be completely honest. Comment here: Tanaka, James, and Nonto are progressive players, because he's saying the quality is on the bench.
They're not good enough.
No.
Browney, tell me I'm wrong. Are they good enough?
No, I can't. I mean, we saw. I mean, James. I mean, you've seen kind of with James tonight, and I'm not saying he didn't have an impact, and it was kind of it was exciting to see him pick the ball, and it was someone driving at him. But I never felt like
it was going to be good enough
to actually create anything, and it didn't create anything.
Tanaka, I like Tanaka aesthetically. I like watching Tanaka. But I think there's a reason why he's kind of dropped down the pecking order. He got a nice chunk of gameplay tonight. Nonto is Nonto. I think it's kind of we've talked about that till we're blue in the face as well about look, he won't be doing it against Norwich. It's against top Premier League teams. Look, the thing that I think we forget is if Nonto was this thing that everybody thinks he is, or a lot of the fan base thinks he is, why would Daniel Farke, who's watching him every day in training, why would he hold him back? Why would he keep him on the bench? Why would you actively go, yeah, he's really good and he could be a difference maker. He could grab us the goals and assists, but no, I'll keep him on the bench. There's got to be a reason, hasn't there, Jay? You wouldn't do it, would you? Surely you wouldn't do it.
No, you wouldn't.
Best players.
The thing is, Browney, we've seen it as well. Like, let's not pretend like we haven't seen Willie Nonto not being good enough. Like, we've all seen it. We see the odd moment, but most of his contributions this season, last season, and the season before have been very hit and miss. And I've said it time and time again. He's been ousted by Manor Solomon, Chris Somerville, for a period of time, Jayden Anthony, Dan James, Jorginho Rutter, and I'm probably missing one. He's been outed by them all. Yeah. So, he's not better than the players that are playing in front of him.
Yeah, let's have a look at some of the JBL Leeds is coming at you. Jason, we will be third bottom by West Ham game. Mark my words. Drawing, you think West Ham, Spurs and Forest are all going to lose or just get the points? You're delusional, pal.
Well, let me bring this one up first off. Jason, you still believe that drawing is good enough? This is after we spoke about it last week. Yes. Yes, it is. Because if we draw our next 7 games, which we won't, I'm sure that we'll probably pick up at least one win within that, and we'll probably pick up a loss or two as well. But if we were to draw all 7 of our remaining games, JB, we would stay in the Premier League. So it is good enough. You know, just a second ago, Gav brought up a statistic saying that we've got 22 points in the last 18 games, 10 of which are draws. Guess what? 22 points in the last 18 games is good enough to stay up. The problem is, guys, right? And this goes out to a couple of you. And I don't think LUFC 11 there, he's not being negative, but I'm starting to get worried now. The problem is, for a lot of us, we haven't got the stomach for a really tight relegation battle. I said this when it got messy earlier on in the season, and I've repeated it several times. We haven't. We need complete security, 10 points clear, or it's, you know, we're in it's like that meme where we're in the house and it's all on fire and it's like, I'm in danger. Like, it's like that. Like, we can't help ourselves because that's the kind of fan base that we are. We are just like on it all the time. Now, don't get me wrong, it makes it more uncomfortable. I would much prefer us to win loads of football games, but this team is not good enough to win that many Premier League games.
No.
Like, it's not. We've got 3 teams directly below us that are all better than us. Right? All of them. I've said it all season, they're all better than us. But we are where we are at this stage in the season because we've managed to pick them points up. We've managed to put the points on the board. I'm not happy with the point today. Of course I'm not. I would much rather see us on 35 points. But another point on the board puts us another point closer. There is a reason that the Opta stats have us at such a low percentage chance of going down. And I don't fully buy into it, but there is a reason for it because the statistics say that the points that we're on, we're not going to need that many more.
Yeah. Well, is it the thing for me? What worries me at the minute is exactly that point. The fact that if you were to kind of do a little mini league table with different categories to rank the 14, for me, we're the lowest on quality.
100%.
You look at Tottenham, they've got someone like Xavi Simons, bangs in 2 goals against Atletico Madrid midweek. This is a guy who is capable. He's not shown it for most of the season. They've got Archie Gray, by the way, who's, you know, pulling up trees there now. Genuine quality. Richarlison up front, you know, they've got quality. You look at Forest, they've got Elliot Anderson, Morgan Gibbs-White banging goals against Man City. You know, and who's the other team? West Ham, obviously, we've seen what West Ham have been up to, you know, and this run that they've been on there. Certainly, you know, the top of the form table out of those 4 teams. The thing that worries me is that just that lack of, because how do we turn this around? It's like Okafor, you know, Okafor is probably that little bit of X factor, but I mean, you know, he came on and did largely nothing. He had no impact tonight. We know he's made of biscuits. You know, so you can't trust his fitness. But he did nothing tonight. And I'm not saying it's his fault necessarily. You know, sometimes it's game state, whatever. Maybe he needs a bit of space. And when you're going up against a low block, you know, it's difficult. But he did nothing. And I just look at the team and I'll go back. If we get relegated this season, I'll be looking at the recruitment and going, we've got a large part of it bang on. We just couldn't get enough. We couldn't get that attacking quality in. You know, I look, whether you look at the January window and go, you brought Buonanotte in, who, I mean, it's, you know, it's looking like a dead rubber, basically, that you had this money aside for Strand Larsen. Is there an argument? Could you have maybe tried to bolster the attack if you've got the funds there? Not a Buonanotte style, someone who's been playing, someone who, you know, look, difficult to do those kind of deals, completely get that. But, you know, I think that's, if anything's going to cost us this season, it is going to be that lack of quality, you know, because we're trying to put one of these 3 teams to bed who are established Premier League teams. I know Forest have, you know, not been in the league too long, but just in terms of how much they've invested and where they've been, you know, Europe, playing in Europe for a couple of seasons, whatever, you know, it's like they've elevated their status. We're trying to, you know, knock out one of these guys, you know, and we're the underdog. We are the underdog.
I think the recruitment has largely been good, like you said. I think we have to remind ourselves of the gap that we're trying to bridge. We forget that. Like, so many of these comments that I'm seeing tonight, guys, and I'm talking directly to you when I say this, you're wanting it, but that doesn't mean that it just then becomes a reality. Like, you know what I mean? Like, winning Premier League games is hard, right? The teams that we've got around us right now, Forest were close to qualifying for the Champions League last season. I think they were wildly out of position, but they were where they were. They've got so much attacking talent. They spent so much money on the team. The Europa League champions in Tottenham, and a very well-established West Ham who won the Conference League only a couple of years ago, and I've just got an array of talent in comparison, and yet we're still ahead of them. Like, I'm happy because I think that we're putting ourselves in somewhat of a reasonable position to hopefully stay up. At the beginning of the season, everybody would have had us in the bottom three. Yeah, because that is what happens to most promoted Championship teams. Yeah, it's as simple as that. And the facts are if we stay up by 1 goal, that's a great result. So the fact that we're 4 points ahead with 7 games to go is still a major positive. Could it be made easier? Probably, yeah. But most of that doesn't come down to the manager. Yeah, some of it comes down to a little bit of fortune and a little bit of luck here and there, and some of it comes down to the players, yeah, of which I am openly saying don't get into any of the teams above us, right? Most of the team don't get into the Tottenham or the Forest team. I'd say some of them get into the West Ham team. That's where I'm at. I don't. Do you agree?
Yeah. No, I do. Yeah. Absolutely.
So what I'm trying to say, Browney, is what are we complaining about? If that's the case, and again, I push any of you, I urge any of you to come into the comments and tell me that I'm wrong when I say that the Tottenham team and the Forest team are better than ours, right? If that's the case, how can we be that upset?
Yeah. And we've got to remember, we've literally been in a situation where we got relegated 3 years ago. And look at what we looked like in the last 7 games of that season. Now, that is a team in complete disarray that, was down and out, getting hammered every game, didn't stand a chance. This is different. This is different now. This is a team that we're at least competitive. But it's not going to be. We're not going to be. Tearing his way through the league, are we? God.
Let's bring this comment up from Michael. Because I am so sick of talking about Sunderland. Sunderland have made our fans lose their mind this season. Sunderland are crap. They're really crap. All the metrics will tell you, apart from the one that really matters. I get that. So don't come at me with that. I get it. I understand. Sunderland had a completely different PSR sphere to work with. The recruitment team did go in aggressive and they did some great moves in terms of the recruitment. But that's a different question to what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Can you have a reasonable debate with me about the fact that Sunderland did better recruitment in the summer than we did? Yes. That's fine. I understand that. Be angry with, the men at the top of the club for that. Get that. But that doesn't change who we are talking about in terms of the players that we've now got. Because if Sunderland had this team, I'm telling you, Regis Labrie would have taken them down. In my opinion. I truly believe that. I truly believe that, because this team isn't the same as Sunderland. Sunderland have got flair. They've got creativity. They've got a different spectrum to us. And I'm telling you, if Sunderland carry on in the same way that they have this season, they'll go down next season. So let's leave Sunderland, right? They've booked the trend for a set of circumstances that's worked in their favour, right? But again, you're missing the point. Leeds United right now are booking the trend as well, because last season and the season before, the relegation battle was done at game week 31. Done.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. Absolutely. And this is the season where by hook or by crook, you just have to try and stay up. And then hopefully next season, there's 3 teams that come up that you have an immediate advantage over, and you try and improve your squad. I mean, you look at the team. I mean, I think we need quite a lot in the summer again. You know, I think we need a lot in the summer again to kind of pick up and go again. But we're just in that early phase of being back in the Premier League where we've just got to bed in. We've just got to bed in.
Can you just so I'm not having this kind of back and forward with the comments, some of these that are kind of, because I don't want it to just be all me, and if you do see it differently, mate, you say it obviously. The couple of comments from JB today, we found ourselves in a situation against 7th place Brentford, who, by the way, I'm just looking at the table, are 5 points off the Champions League spot. Okay. That's who we play tonight. Now, I don't like thinking that Brentford are a great side either, or even a good side, especially under Keith Andrews, because I can't stand the guy. But they are where they are, and they deserve to be where they are. They've booked all the trends this season. They've been brilliant. They've been excellent. Okay, and we've made them look pretty ordinary on both occasions, by the way.
Yeah, we have.
So you tell me, as JB has said there, there's no fight. Okay, there's nothing, no fight. We didn't concede a chance on target today, I don't believe. Cardallo had nothing to do. You talk to him.
That's. I mean, you can talk about quality, you can talk about tactics, you can talk about recruitment. I don't think you can say to this squad that it's not fighting. I think that is the minimum thing that this team. I mean, go back 7 days and see what we did against 11 men. I just think definitely nothing to do with fight. I mean, let's look. I mean, let's try and get into a bit more of the game. Let's try and look at the game a little bit, because I think we're just going around in circles here, aren't we?
Just before we do. Just before we do. Over February, Brentford beat Burnley away, Newcastle away, and Aston Villa away. Before that, in January, they lost to Chelsea, who we didn't lose to, and we haven't lost to all season, by the way. Then they went to Everton and won 4-2, and then beat Wolves 2-0. So out of their last, I think that's 8 games, they've won 5 away games and drawn 2 and lost 1. I'm not saying I'm delighted with a point, guys. Listen to the words that I speak, right? Yeah. I'm not saying that we should just accept a draw again because Brentford are a good. I'm not saying that. I want to win all of his games, of course, and I want to win all the home games, of course. But you have to treat it with some context. You have to hold some perspective to the fact that they're a far better team than us, that have beaten far better teams than us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. I know. Well, this is the kind of thing you have to kind of remind yourself, don't you? I mean, a good friend of mine always texts me after Leeds games going, "Oh, you've made another good team look bang average." I mean, Thiago, he's not had a sniff again. I mean, that's, 2 games.
We made them look poor.
Yeah.
Both times.
That counts for something. Just in terms of the setup, I mean, obviously, like you say, we've gone to 2 up front. I don't know if it always looked like 2 up front, to be completely honest. I mean, second half, Mecha ended up on the wing most of the time. I thought we might as well get him off because he's not a winger, is he? What I found frustrating, I think, for the first portion of the first half, Jay, was we had JJ on the, in the Gabby role. And for some reason, we kind of ended up in that area of the pitch trying to build up there. And the ball inevitably would end up at Carl Darlow, who hits it, and it just goes out, and Brentford could pick up possession. And we seemed to be kind of knocking it around at the back and everything. And I was just screaming for us to go more direct that first half, because that was the only way we were going to get it. We had to get the territory moved up the field. It was just hoof it, and if the ball comes back at you, try it again. I mean, that's literally where I think we're at, and hopefully Calvert-Lewin can win something. Mecha, Aronson can kind of pick up these second balls. I definitely think with Aronson, after his kind of purple patch, I think I've mentioned it before, I think opposition know him 100% now, and I think there's definitely a kind of clamping down on him, and maybe he's gone slightly off it with his finishing or whatever. But I thought first half it was just, we needed to be a bit more direct. And then when we started to do that, things started to happen. We kind of moved the ball up top. But look, I'm under no illusions. We created very, very little, very, very little.
I think opposition teams have really changed the way that they deal with our midfield. I think they're not giving Brendan anywhere near the same space that he was getting a couple of months ago, and he has gone off the ball a little bit in terms of his contribution as well. I still think he gives us so much off the ball, which is probably why he's still in the team, and I ain't got a problem with it, to be honest, because I think that for me, people are not going to like this, but we missed another midfielder in there today. Whether that could have been Tanaka from the start, or probably more than likely Ilya Gruev, we couldn't control the ball in the middle of the pitch. If Anton Stack wasn't near it because it went down the other side of the pitch that he was on, we were screwed. He was dropping in at left back to allow James Justin to have this overlap, and it just created so many issues in the midfield because we were then a man further down. Mecha, in my opinion, Mecha plays up front or he don't play.
Yeah.
This kind of hybrid role between him being on the left and in the striker role just don't work. You just have to put him up there and go long and put him in and around Calvert-Lewin. I still think he was playing in around there, but we didn't play long enough. You know, like you're saying, or maybe Calvert-Lewin just didn't get enough success against the big lads at the back. I thought Ethan Pinnock had a really good game. I thought he was probably man of the match today, along with Anton Stack. I thought Ethan Pinnock played really, really well.
Yeah.
It's a proper non-league footballer, and Ethan Pinnock has come back through that route, and it just reminds me of like the 35-year-old dad that's still playing, that just bosses games. But yeah, he was so restricted from creativity. You know, this season for me right now, because I think we will pick up more points in uncomfortable looking games, but it hinges on Wolves and Burnley. It hinges on the Wolves and the Burnley game, because that is where we're probably more than likely going to pick up as points if we are. Now, they're not going to be easy. Wolves have changed a lot throughout this season. They're not the side that, you know, started the season. It's going to be tricky. And Burnley are going to, they're still kicking and screaming and fighting, but they're there to be beaten. Now, if we can't pick up at least 4 points in them games, and we don't deserve to be here anyway.
Yeah.
So fans, again, people are going to lose their mind at me saying at least 4 points, and they'll be like, it's got to be 6 points. Well, it done. It done. I want it to be 6 points, but it done. You know, we're now on 33. 4 more take us to 37. We probably need maybe 1 more point, maybe 2. Yeah. Who knows? But the reality is however it looks come the end of the season, we're going to finish really close to the line.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, any hopes and dreams of getting this put to bed early, I don't think is happening. Just some more comments to get in. 78. At times, Premier League football in the bottom half is turgid. Our manager and squad are doing their jobs, grinding up survival, as that is all that matters right now. Michael, our football or Farker ball deserves to be in the Championship, and it's where it will be next season.
What are you watching? What are you watching, Michael? Like, I know it's not beautiful, it's not Bielsa ball, but like, we have competed with 31 games now. I think we've competed in 25 of them, 26, something like that. 2 Arsenal games and a couple of away games here and there. Given this team,
I know.
And given the landscape of the Premier League, look at what the teams that come up will do next season.
Exactly. JB does ask, can I ask a question to you both? Where is the line when you will go, right, we've lost to Man United, Burnley, drawn to Wolves, by then it's too late to worry?
I don't know what you mean.
Are you saying if we drop points in those games, are we going to be worried then? Or look,
that might be the question. So he's asking if we draw against Burnley after losing to Man United or whatever. I'm going to say this again because I've read another comment after that, and you want to put words in our mouths. Yeah. No, because we shouldn't be here anyway. It's fine to go down. No. Of course, I want us to stay up, but the reality for most promoted clubs is to go back down. And after 31 games, we're 4 points clear. So we've booked the trend. We are competing above where our expected position would be. For me, it's always about what I see in front of me. And the performances largely have been good this season. And the only thing that hasn't balanced with that is the amount of points that we've got. I think even the most hardened neghead in this chat would agree that these performances that we've seen through 31 games have been worth another 5 points. I think it's more than that. I think it's closer to 10. But let's just say it's 5. We'd already be safe. I think this team already deserves to be safe based on what we've seen.
I do.
But alas, we're not, because bit of luck, bit of quality, right? But of course, there will come a point where the results will have to change if the teams around us start to pick up more points than us. But again, this is something that fans have a really hard time getting their head around, Brownie, is that the teams around us are not all of a sudden going to start winning loads of games. No. 2 of them have taken 29 points from 30 games, averaging less than a point a game. It might, and I might look like an idiot, right? But the reality of all the experience that we've got, of all the seasons that have come before, say that after 30 games, the teams that are in and around the bottom of the league are going to continue to lose bloody football games.
Can you imagine if we were actually in 18th now? What the conversation would look like? I mean, It would be the end of the world, wouldn't it? It would absolutely be like just an absolute bin fire. I mean, Mike, we're the worst watch in the country, the most negative team in the country, Michael. That's on the back of your other one where you want him fucking gone, but it's
mental. Like, what are you watching your team for? I just don't get it. I genuinely don't get it.
No, I think, I mean, like you said, earlier, we said from the start, this could potentially be a very difficult watch where we don't win a lot of games. We can go long spells without winning a game. In a lot of senses, we've done better than I thought we would actually by picking up points with draws, to be honest. I don't know. I don't know. I think, look at our position, look where we are. I feel like people are kind of talking like we're, this is like end of days stuff already. And I'm like,
it's like we're Burnley. Like we're in that position. Yeah. And we're not. We're not at all. And, the reality is we've lost less games than Spurs, Forest, and West Ham this season.
Yeah.
What I mean? We've won the same amount, I think, as all 3 of them.
Yeah.
That is where we are.
Absolutely. I think we've spent far less days, and it's only days, not weeks, than anyone expected. So as long as we stay above 3 other teams, we're on target. Fergal, for God's sake, it could be a very good point if West Ham or Forest and Spurs draw or Spurs win. Paul, facts are the board bought no creative players. We were never going to be free scoring.
Now, that's a proper point.
Yeah.
That's a proper point. Not just because I agree with it, because it makes sense. Yeah. Like, that makes some plausible sense, and just like this emotion. We should be winning more games. Like, what does that mean? Why should we be winning more games?
I saw one of the what's his name? He does like the finance reports and stuff, and he goes on Talk Sports, and he'll sit with Jim White and Simon Jordan.
I know what you mean. Yeah. I know.
And he was talking about. Oh, sorry, no, scrap that. It was. Oh God, he used to be a football director, Purslow.
Yeah.
Him. And he does a football podcast with Henry Winter, and he was going through each relegation candidate, and they looked at Leeds' spending, and he said, looking at what Leeds have spent and the ownership, if we go down, it's not a catastrophic thing like it is for West Ham, Spurs or Forest. So he thinks, looking at how we've spent our money, we have probably, it's not a conservative way of going about it, but it's almost like they've been smart enough to go, if we get relegated with what we've spent and the outlay we've done, it's not going to completely destroy the club. So, look, we'll be able to pick over the bones of it in the summer, seeing what happens, and maybe we will look back and go, lads, you should have just, rolled the dice and maybe got a couple more attackers that were going to deliver for you. But, we don't know that yet. And it could be a super smart strategy, because then we might have more to spend in the summer, and look, there's going to be mistakes, the Perry situation is bizarre, how that's kind of, come about. I mean, if you'd have told me Carl Darlow will be starting number one in
yeah.
the Premier League, I'd have gone, something's gone horribly wrong, but, he's been fine. So, yeah, I don't know. I think this is... I wanted us to be competitive this season. I feel we've been competitive. And we're miles in it. We're miles in this thing at the minute.
It gives us far more scope to go at and then sustain Premier League status.
Yeah.
If we stay up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because season 2 is actually often harder than season 1. It probably won't be in this case because of the teams that are likely to come up, however. But most of the time, that is an actual sound structure to build around. Yeah. And 2, I remember 20 years ago. Yeah. I remember, however, 23 years since we've been relegated or whatever it is now. I remember that. I remember the destruction of the team in the Championship and then the relegation to League One. I was a season ticket holder, home and away, in the season that we got relegated to League One and in the League One days. I remember the minus 15 points. I remember all that misery and the years of being nothing 16th in the Championship for year after year after year. So don't come at me and start saying it's not good enough being conservative. Right, because when that's the attitude, you end up just basically saying that you were okay with all that pain and suffering, right? Like, I can't believe how fickle we can be sometimes as football fans, especially as a set of football fans like we are that have been through so much pain, right? It's madness. So I would much rather have an ownership that goes about it with a plan and a structure. Now, have they made some mistakes with the recruitment? I would say they probably have. The Harry Wilson debacle come the end of the window was a mess. I agree with all of that, and he would have made such a difference to us. If you wanted him, go out and get him properly. Set a week before that. Don't mess around. In on the last day. I agree with all that. That is all realistic stuff. But in terms of what this team can do at game week 31 with the team that we've got and the manager that we've got, how can you expect that much more?
Exactly. No, absolutely. Yeah, because whatever manager you would have brought in, it's still the same quality of player that you're working with. Ultimately. I mean, 78 picks up on your point, mentions that. Yeah, he probably picked up on that. I wonder if there's some hindsight soul searching in the recruitment team for not pushing harder on Harry Wilson. He was there for the taking. Yeah, he wasn't he, really? I mean, let's be honest. Fulham were not bothered for his last year of his contract. It was there for someone like him with that extra bit of quality in the season he's had. I mean, if he'd have replicated that at Ellen Road, I mean, God, we'd have been fine by now.
I mean, fair play to the recruitment team and Daniel Parker for identifying him.
Absolutely,
because, you know, most people weren't that enamoured by that as a signing. They were a bit like, Harry Wilson, really? And the season that he's gone on to have, he's probably worked himself into a position where he's going to get a big move at the end of this season. Yeah. On a free transfer, there'll be plenty of clubs that are going to want to pick him up. So, or just another. You know, we all knew really that we needed another creative player. I think the club had too much faith, unfortunately, in Dan James. Maybe even I did. I said in the summer, you know, we're hoping that he'd step up again. He got injured, and then he's not really been able to contribute enough this season. So, you know,
difficult position with him, wasn't it? Because it's like he'd had, you know, 2 really good seasons. You don't want to let him go for nothing, but it's like, what do you do? And obviously, it's not worked out. He's got a nice long contract as well. He's, you know, if you stay up in the Premier League, it's a difficult conversation because how do you, you know, should he be staying? I don't know. He's not. I'm not looking at Dan James to propel us up the league, to be honest. If we end up staying up, I'm better than Dan James. You know, as kind of harsh as that sounds.
That's true. It's true. It's absolutely true.
We've only got 3 league games at Ellen Road now, haven't we? We've only got 3 games at home left for the rest of the season.
Burnley, Wolves, and Brighton.
Yeah, God, can't believe that. Jesus.
7 to go, mate. 7 to go.
Yeah, 7 to go. God, yeah, closing in. Bit of a break now, Jason. 13th of April is the next league game, and we've just got the small matter of an FA Cup quarter-final sandwiched in there. Is your feeling and mood about that going to be dictated about what happens tomorrow and where Leeds kind of end up 24 hours from now?
Maybe. You know, what will be will be. At some point or another, I'm going to be wrong, and the results will go against what I've said, but for the last 3 or 4 weeks, I've said exactly the same thing, and the likelihood is that obviously 2 of them play each other tomorrow, but most of the teams down at the bottom of the league will lose tomorrow. Yeah, because that's the way that the bottom of the league works. I've said this for week after week after week. I said to you on the preview show the other day, out of all 4 of us, only West Ham had won a game in the previous 5 fixtures. West Ham had won 1 game, Spurs had won none, Leeds had won none, Forest had won none, and all 3 of us had drawn 3 games. We'd all taken 3 points. Yeah. So I bring this up to kind of say, look, I'm talking sense. When you're down at that area of the table come this stage of the season, you're going to lose a lot of games. You're not going to win very often. And that will continue between now and the end of the season. And if it doesn't, for one of the teams, they will pull away very quickly. But the likelihood is that they will continue to lose games, because that's why they are where they are at this stage of the season. So all these points, I'm hoping that I'm going to be right when I say this, all these points that we are picking up in these draws come the end of the season will be very, very, very valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. Paul, we've got Burnley and Wolves at home. If we can get 4 points from those, we'll be safe. We'll get a few more draws on top of that. That's I mean, that would be absolutely fine, wouldn't it?
It'd be lovely to see an away win. It would be lovely to see another away win. And I think we'd have got it last weekend if what had happened didn't happen. So yeah, I think we have to show the stomach for it as a fan base, and really stick in with this, because it was always going to be tough. It was always going to be difficult. It might come down to the last game of the season, and every single negative Leeds fan will be like, "Oh, if we got West Ham away, that'll be it. It'll be over." Like, I'd have taken going into the last game of the season still with it being in our hands before a ball kicked. I would have done.
Yeah. In the context of what happens to newly promoted teams, just kind of circling back around this goal scoring issue. It's 4 games now without a goal. The last open play goal was Noah Okafor against Chelsea in the 2-2 draw. That does feel like quite a while ago. Is there anything that you think Farker or players or whatever the system, any tweaks or things that you think could get those goals flowing again? Or do you just think, look, it's like the wind, sometimes it's blowing that way, sometimes it's blowing that way, and at this current time it's not quite falling into place for us? I mean, what do you think? Is there anything when you watch us you think, if we could just do that or X, Y or Z, then that might open it up for us a little bit?
I think it's really, really tough to get much more out of this side creativity wise, because it's down to profiles and personnel. It's not down to a structural thing. You probably need to get people more in and around Calvert-Lewin when the ball's going towards him. That seems very simple, but it's all I can really say with the squad that we've got is to do that. You continue to try and get Jayden Bogle and Gabby Gudmundsson down the wings if you're playing in a 3-5-2. And for me, you have to get back on the training pitch and make more of these set pieces. We have to start seeing Biol, Rodon and Pascal banging headers towards the goal. Like, for me, it's not even a case of like the clearing off the line, the keeper's making the save. We're not creating any sort of headers for chances, and we need to see more of them, because I believe all 3 of them are very good in the air, especially Yaka and Pascal. They should both be banging goals in fairly regularly with the amount of chances that we are putting in there from corners, free kicks and throw-ins. So yeah, that is where I would look at it, because between now and the end of the season, you're not going to start changing systems or bringing somebody new in.
No, you're not. No, exactly. Looking ahead then, are you going to try and enjoy the break? We've got a few players on international duty, someone to keep a look on, and then, like I say, FA Cup in a couple of weeks. What's your vibe going into this break?
A bit flat. If we'd have won today, I'd have really enjoyed this break, and I'd have enjoyed looking forward to coming back to the cup game, I'll be honest. But I then check myself, because I'm coming on here and saying that we need to show the stomach for the fight, and this is exactly what I thought this season would look like at best, by the way. You know, I'd have snapped your hands off with 33 points at game week 31.
I
would have snapped your hands off.
Absolutely.
I'd have just hoped that Sunderland had been below us, because if they had been, then the likelihood is that the gap to the bottom three would have been a little bit bigger, because Sunderland had probably been on 27 and Burnley 22 or whatever they're on, and Wolves on 20. You wouldn't have this situation where you're worrying about West Ham winning tomorrow and they're going to go to 32 points. So to answer your question, and JB, West Ham beat us. We beat West Ham at Ellen Road. Under, just say. I'm gonna just try and disconnect from football a little bit. Half of the battle seems to come from within, with us, within the fan base. The players don't seem to be, flapping. They will be looking at that as a decent point on the board today, another point closer towards survival, another point that, as we sit talking right now, the opposition don't have. Just try and chill it back and take myself away from Twitter, because I just think the online noise is very much like this.
Yeah. Don't worry, we appreciate you too, JB. We do.
Yeah, and I get passionate about it, because, and I will stop kind of whittling on myself in a minute, Brown, because my voice is going. But I passionately speak in robust defense against this kind of mindset, because I actually think it's really negative for you. And I think it's a really bad kind of way to bring the fan base. It carries, this noise carries, Twitter carries, other content creators speaking like this carries. And I think it then carries into the overall feeling of the way that the football club is going. We are very responsible as a fan base for the way that we kind of conduct ourselves. It bleeds into the ground as well, especially when the run was bad before, it bled in. And, it does. I'm not making this up.
No, absolutely.
Players will check social media tonight and they'll be like, okay, I've given it all tonight. I've given everything that I've got for this shirt, and I'm doing everything I can to try and keep this team up. And I'm seeing Scott 1, 2, 3, 4 saying that I don't give a shit. And these same fans will then say, oh, well, the professional footballers, they shouldn't care about this kind of, they shouldn't let it bring them down. They're just human beings, man, who are just trying to do their best. Absolutely. So I will always push back against this, just for the sake of it being like this, because it's with no credence. This team are not losing week after week after week after week. They're not 10 points adrift. If we were 10 points adrift, I'd be coming on here. But you go and watch my Browney stream, and Browney streams from the last time we were in the Premier League. You go watch them.
We hammered them every week. Every week we hammered them.
Every week, because it was dreadful. It was terrible. The club was poison. But this is not that. We should. I think we should be grateful. We should be appreciative of how competitive this season's been.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree. And I think if we end up going down, I'll never look back at this season and say we didn't try, we didn't put the effort in, we didn't have the fight, all the stuff which last time we went down, I said we didn't have any of it. I will not be saying it this time. Absolutely not. Just quickly before we wrap up, just some Farke comments before we go. Says he's happy with the clean sheet, dealing with their counter-attacks. Last bit of composure was missing. Only side to have dominated every stat against Brentford in both games. Tight game though. Expression of what we are. Can't cut opponents to pieces. Which I think that's that is it, isn't it? In a nutshell, really. We just can't. We're not capable of that at the moment. Right. Well, we'll keep an eye on things tomorrow then, Jay. We'll see where we're at by tea time tomorrow in terms of our position. And then we have a little bit of a break before the next game. Sorry, mate. Yeah, go on.
I was just going to say, you're hoping for a Spurs Forest draw and a Villa win? Is that how you're looking at it?
Yeah. Just part of me for whatever it is. I don't know if it's not just the result midweek, but I think something's turned for Spurs when they played Liverpool last week. I don't know. I've just got an inclination that there's just something's going to get going there. So I'm tempted to say Spurs put Forest to bed.
And obviously West Ham lose. Villa, by the way, Villa have got a lot to play for because Chelsea keep losing, Man United drop points, somebody else as well. Like, Villa, get your act together, beat West Ham, please. Like, I'm sick of West Ham getting teams at the right time. It's doing me head in.
See, I think you're giving too much credence to Spurs' point against Liverpool. Liverpool were terrible, and we're talking about the same Liverpool team that have just gone and lost to Brighton today.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, they're not all that. I mean, look, Spurs might have got it together, or they might be able to get it together now. I know they've had a bit of a change in formation. Spurs are the worst team in the whole league at home. You know, the worst team in the whole league at home. I can't help but feeling like a point is probably the best result there for us, because I still feel like Forest are very close to getting it right. They create so many chances. They're the opposite to us. They create so many chances and just don't score any, and they can't defend. You know, I don't know. Obviously, we all want West Ham to lose, but I think the other game's intriguing. I think it's really, really intriguing. People are still
is it? When's that?
No, they're both at 2:15.
Oh,
people have still not kind of come to terms with the fact that Spurs could go down. That's why they're still talking in language as if that just can't happen. So I just see Michael's comment. I know they beat Madrid in the week, but what pressure did they have going into that game? And I'd also question were Atletico maybe in a little bit of a funky headspace given the fact that they'd walked over them in the first leg. So maybe it has given them some confidence. That could be the case, but they also still conceded twice. You know, they concede goals for fun, the Spurs. So, and Vicario's out for a month. So they've got Slappy Kiske in net. Yeah, so Rachubka 2.0 in net. So it'll be interesting. I think that'll be a quality game to watch. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
But yeah, I think a draw and a Villa win would be perfect. We'd feel very differently about this point today.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, let's hope we're walking away from the weekend feeling that. By the way, before we started tonight's show, Jay did say to me, I can only see this being about 20 minutes. We've got no to talk about. And then there we go, an hour into it.
It's because every time we have any sort of negative result, we end up having to do this chat, don't we? And I do secretly love it in a part, and I hate it at the same time. But yeah, we just need to, again, strap in, stick together, remember, hold some perspective and context to where this season needs to be. We just need to survive by the skin of our teeth. That's it.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. 100%. Well, we'll be back to reflect on the weekend's games later in the week, so please do keep an eye on that. We'll be back on the Monday show as well. Thank you to everyone who commented as well, whatever your opinion. It's much appreciated. Please do smash a like on the video, get subscribed to the channel as well. I've been Stephen Brown, with me as ever, Jason Booker. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you, mate.
And we will see you again soon. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.